Medusa. Monster or victim? Don't look away, or you'll be turned to stone forever. How much of what you know about Medusa, one of the most terrifying and tragic figures of ancient Greek mythology, is true? Today, we take a close look at her dark story. Was she really born a monster? Or was she an innocent victim cursed by the gods? How did Perseus manage to defeat her? How did Medusa's death become the start of a legend? In this video, we delve into the depths of mythology and step into Medusa's mysterious world. Don't miss this tragic tale where myth and reality intertwine. Medusa, one of the most terrifying figures in mythology, was not actually born a monster, as we all know. Her story is a tragic example of beauty, jealousy, and divine injustice. Medusa was one of three sisters known as the Gorgons, Stheno, Euryale, and Medusa. However, the only difference among the Gorgons was that Medusa was mortal. Stheno and Euryale were born strong and frightening creatures. Medusa, on the other hand, was famous for her extraordinary beauty before being cursed by the gods. The Gorgons were feared beings living in the farthest corners of the world beyond the ocean. However, unlike her two sisters, Medusa was not a terrifying being but a young, beautiful, and mortal woman. Medusa was a priestess dedicated to Athena, the goddess of wisdom and war. She served in the temple and lived a sacred life. But one day, this sacred land became the scene of a tragedy for her. Poseidon, the god of the seas, was captivated by Medusa's beauty and could not resist her. He attacked her in Athena's sacred temple. At that moment, everything changed for Medusa. Athena was furious about this dreadful incident in her own temple. However, instead of bringing justice, she punished the victim. While Poseidon received no punishment, Medusa was condemned to become a monster forever. Athena's wrath was severe. Medusa's beautiful hair was turned into writhing, poisonous snakes. Her eyes were filled with a curse that would turn anyone who looked at her to stone instantly. She was no longer human. She was a monster cursed by the gods, feared by all. Medusa was no longer just a victim of a curse, but had also become one of the most feared figures in mythology. But was she really a monster? Or was she a woman wronged by the gods? This legend has reached us as not just a curse, but also as a demonstration of the ruthless power of the gods. Subjected to Athena's wrath, Medusa was no longer an ordinary woman. Her hair had turned into venomous snakes, and her eyes were endowed with a dreadful curse. Anyone who looked at her faced an inevitable fate, turning to stone. Medusa became a symbol of fear and disaster in ancient Greek myths. People were terrified of her cursed gaze, grotesque appearance, and the countless stone bodies surrounding her cave. The snakes in her hair were not just an ornament. They coiled, dripped venom, and were ready to strike at any moment. Her gaze was deadly. No living being caught in her eyes could survive, turning to stone forever. She was mysterious and lonely. After suffering injustice, she had withdrawn from everyone and retreated to her desolate cave. Over time, Medusa's name turned into fearsome legends. She was a curse, an ill omen. And for warriors who wanted to prove their courage, she was a deadly prize. Looking directly into her eyes meant certain death. Therefore, those who wanted to fight her developed special methods, mirrors and polished shields. Warriors used shiny surfaces to avoid looking directly at her. Sharp swords and speed. Although Medusa had a deadly gaze, she was still mortal. A quick and accurate strike could be her end. Aid from the gods. Heroes like Perseus were given magical items by the gods. For example, Athena's shiny shield and Hades' helmet of invisibility. Medusa continued to live in mythology not only as a monster, but also as a symbol of human fears and injustice. But was she really to be feared? Or were the gods who cursed her the ones to be feared? Medusa's curse not only ruined her life, but also turned her into a prize. Over time, those who wanted to prove their heroism set out to take Medusa's head. However, none returned, until Perseus took on the task. King Polydectes of the island of Seriphos wanted to get rid of Perseus. The best way to send him to his death was to ask for Medusa's head. Perseus knew he couldn't complete this task without the help of the gods, but he accepted the challenge for his honor. However, the gods would not leave him alone. Perseus received invaluable help from Athena and Hermes for this deadly task. Without this assistance, defeating Medusa would have been nearly impossible. Athena's mirrored shield, looking directly at Medusa's face, meant death. Perseus had to use this shield like a mirror to fight. Hermes' sharp sword, Medusa's skin couldn't be cut by ordinary weapons. However, Hermes' special sword was sharp enough to sever her neck. Hades' helmet of invisibility. Moving unseen was Perseus' greatest advantage. With the helmet, he could avoid Medusa's gaze. Winged sandals. These sandals allowed Perseus to move swiftly, catching Medusa off guard. When Perseus reached the desolate lands where the Gorgons lived, everything was ready. Now, it was only a matter of facing the cursed creature. The Gorgons lived in a desolate cave. Stheno and Euryale were always alert and on guard, but Medusa was asleep. Perseus silently entered the cave with Hades' helmet of invisibility. Using Athena's mirrored shield, Perseus advanced slowly. Without looking directly into Medusa's eyes, he used the reflections to locate her. He gripped his sword tightly, and with a single, perfect strike, he severed Medusa's head. However, with Medusa's death, two new beings were born: Pegasus, the winged horse, born from the blood that spurted from Medusa's neck; Chrysaor, the giant with a golden sword, also born from Medusa's blood. Perseus grabbed Medusa's head and swiftly fled with his winged sandals. The Gorgons screamed when they realized their sister had been slain, but Perseus managed to escape thanks to the helmet of invisibility. Thus, Medusa's tragic life came to an end. But her power still lived on, because her head's curse continued to have an effect even after her death. Medusa's life had ended, but her story did not. Even after losing her head, her power still remained. Her death led to the birth of new beings and turned into a divine weapon. With a single sword strike, Perseus beheaded Medusa, and an unexpected miracle occurred. As soon as her blood spilled on the ground, two powerful beings were born. Pegasus. A pure white, winged horse emerged from Medusa's blood. This horse would play a significant role in the world of the gods. Later, it would become the steed of the hero Bellerophon and rise to Olympus. Chrysaor, a mysterious giant born with a golden sword in hand. His power and descendants would be remembered as great warriors in mythology. Medusa died, but these two legendary beings born from her blood carried on her legacy. Even after death, Medusa's head retained its curse. Her eyes still had the power to turn anyone who looked at her to stone. Perseus decided to use this power and continued on his way with the head in a bag. With this deadly weapon, Perseus defeated many enemies, turned Atlas to stone. When Perseus encountered Atlas, the titan who bore the heavens, he showed him Medusa's head. Atlas instantly turned into a massive mountain, destroyed the sea monster. Perseus used Medusa's head to turn the sea monster to stone, saving the Ethiopian princess Andromeda. Now, Medusa's curse had transformed into a powerful weapon in the hands of heroes. When Perseus returned home victorious, he gifted Medusa's head to Athena. The goddess of wisdom and war placed this powerful head on her shield. From then on, Athena's shield became a weapon that instilled fear in her enemies. Medusa's head was on the shield, and anyone who looked at it trembled in fear. In ancient Greece, Medusa's head became a symbol of fear and protection. The Medusa figure, known as the Gorgonian, was used in many places. In temples and armors, Athena and warriors carried Medusa's face on their armor to intimidate enemies. On shields and weapons, warriors engraved Medusa's head symbol on their shields to terrify their opponents. On door ornaments and tombs, Medusa's face was carved at the entrances of temples and tombs to ward off evil spirits. Medusa was no longer alive, but her presence continued forever. A woman cursed by the gods had finally become a symbol of power and fear. From ancient Greece to the present day, Medusa has become more than just a figure of mythology. She has turned into a symbol of art, culture, and even social movements. Her tragic story has inspired artists and brought her to life again and again in sculptures, paintings, films, and plays over centuries. Starting from ancient Greece, Medusa was often depicted in art as a symbol of fear and protection. In ancient Greece, the Gorgoneion, or the severed head of Medusa, was engraved on temples, armors, and coins. Her image was used as a talisman to ward off evil spirits and enemies. Artists began to depict Medusa as a sorrowful figure rather than a monster. Especially Caravaggio's famous painting Medusa realistically portrayed her terrifying gaze and the horror of her severed head. Today, Medusa has also become a subject in sculptures as a symbol not just of fear, but of a powerful female figure. In 2018, Luciano Garbatti's sculpture, Medusa with the Head of Perseus, made a significant impact in gender discussions. This work reinterpreted Medusa as a figure resisting injustice. In ancient myths, Medusa was a character who, despite being a victim, was punished. She became a monster as a victim of a crime. This is where modern feminist movements have redefined her as a symbol of injustice and female power. Medusa's story has been re-examined as a historical symbol of injustices faced by women. Her unbowed posture and fear-inducing gaze were seen as a rebellion against male-dominated myths. In recent years, Medusa has been used by women's rights activists as a symbol of women standing against injustice. The figure of the Gorgonion is now interpreted not as a symbol of fear, but as a symbol of power and resistance. Throughout history, Medusa transformed from a feared figure into an inspiring power. Once a creature feared for her stone-turning gaze, Medusa has now become a powerful symbol of art, feminism, and modern culture. Throughout history, Medusa has been remembered as a terrifying creature, a monster who turned people to stone with her eyes. But what if we look from another perspective? She was assaulted by a god, cursed without her own will, and eternally ostracized. Was she truly a monster, or was she a figure wronged by injustice? What do you think at this point? Did Medusa get the punishment she deserved, or was she a victim of injustice? Does her story carry a message relevant to our time? Share your thoughts in the comments. Let's discuss and explore myths together. If you want to learn more legends about mythology, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Turn on notifications, because in the next video, we will delve into a completely different legend. See you soon!